Here is an airline pilot talking about why he's standing against the vaccine mandate.
I've been an airline pilot for 18 years, and now I'm facing an ultimatum. Not a choice, but an ultimatum. I'm being told in order to continue my career as an airline pilot, I must be vaccinated, which really means I have to choose between putting food on the table for my family and my freedom of choice. Whether you believe in vaccination is the right thing to do or not, the situation goes far beyond health. We, the American people, have fought for freedom for 257 years. We go around the world spreading ideas of freedom and democracy. We help other countries and people fight for their freedoms, while ours are being stripped away. You may think being forced to wear a mask or get a vaccination is insignificant, but when you begin to compile mandate after mandate and loss of freedom after freedom, it becomes very significant. As each thing is taken away, we face what is known as the shifting baseline syndrome. This syndrome changes our idea of a new and acceptable normal. Soon, we will not remember what it was like to have the freedoms we once did. Our children and our grandchildren will experience less freedom, and they won't have the privilege or the pleasure to enjoy the same choices our parents had or that we have. If we give into these mandates and we do not stand up for our freedom of choice, we dishonor every armed service person over the last 257 years. A disservice to the people who have fought and bled for the very freedoms we enjoy. Whether you believe in vaccination or not, I'm standing up for your freedom of choice. You may support the vaccine mandates because they fall in line with your current beliefs. But if we let this happen now, there will be a day when what you're told to do will not fall in line with your beliefs.
Amen.
If we do not stand together and fight back in one voice, soon we could be told where to live, what job we will do, what religion to believe, and how many children we can have. Do you really want someone telling your children or your grandchildren what, when, and how they will live every minute of their lives? It's time we take a stance. It's time we fight for our freedom of choice while we still can.
I agree. And it might sound crazy to people who are, not really paying attention, or the mask mandate falls in line with their thinking. But it is true. All of the people that are with the mask mandate now, most of them, are the same ones that told us about that rationing would never happen, that death panels wouldn't happen, that they're never going to raise the price of your insurance or make you a pariah if you didn't fall into line. These are all things that we said, these are logical outcomes. If you are providing health care and you're the federal government, they have a right to tell you how much to eat. I told you there would come a time that you would be wearing a watch or something that would monitor to be able to see, are you exercising? Are you eating right? How many calories are you having? Well, we're here now. You have that. And they just haven't implemented it, but that is what's happening. You say vaccine mandate. Well, why would we mandate vaccine? And I'm being serious. Why would we mandate vaccines for everybody when we know the biggest comorbidity factor is obesity? You should have to lose weight. If you don't, you're costing us too much money. If you don't do these things, then you don't get anything. They have you under control.
And the worst thing that could happen with this type of development is if it happens gradually.
Yes.
Because if the American people would be shocked to deal with the situation you're talking about. But when it happens slowly, like it is, it becomes.
But is it? I mean, yes, it is on the healthcare stance. But look at what's happening to the airlines. And I want you to understand this. What is Build Back Better? What is it?
The most uncomfortably awkward thing to say in U.S. history.
But it is the slogan for
the Great Reset.
When your computer is locked and none of the apps work, what do?
You unplug it and plug it back in, or turn it off and turn it back on.
Right. and it goes back to the original factory settings, okay? This great reset, it will be the same thing. Your airlines won't be working. You won't be able to travel. People are going to lose their jobs. Inflation will be out of control. The police system and the justice system won't be working. And somebody will say, this just doesn't work anymore. Yes, that is the plan. And they have the new system to drop it into. What you will mean is we've got to go back to normal. But as this airline pilot just said, you won't even remember normal. You won't remember normal.
That's true. We already have a giant amount of our health care that goes through the government. I mean, I think it would be an incredible wake-up call for people if the government started just doing these things. And they said, you know what? You have to be less than 1,800 calories a day to get this health care. And people would have a choice between private healthcare and the government healthcare where they did monitor what you did and they did monitor your weight and they did harass you about the things you eat. And we talk about all these things as if they're nightmares. Maybe they'd be great warnings to people to get off of government healthcare.
Correct.
And stop encouraging and voting for people who want it.
Do you know why Southwest is not giving in to the employees while they're, the unions are pushing back? You have their employees that are definitely not walking out. This was just weather patterns, even though there was no weather issue all weekend.
And they had 10 times the cancellations of every other airline.
Right.
Yeah.
They're doing this because they've already taken money from the government. They are a government contractor. They get 2% of their money in government contracts. So when you're a government contractor, you have no choice unless you drop the government contract. Well, they don't want to drop that 2%. Also, in addition to that, are they going to bail us out if we go under? The FAA could so easily become Gestapo for any airline. The FAA can just destroy you as an airline if it's weaponized. You don't think they'll weaponize the FAA?
Well, that's why you have to wear masks on planes, right?
Yes.
I mean, you notice that you walk into, depending on which state you're in, of course, but most places you walk into, you don't have to wear masks anymore. There's, it's changed quite a bit from the past, just over the past 6 months. But there is no place where it's stricter than on an airplane.
No place.
Now, we have high-level filtration there. There's no reason for an airplane to be a place that would pass COVID in any large amounts. We have no record of that. We have no information that supports that. But they're crazy on planes with you and your mask because that's one of the things they can control. Joe Biden can basically just say, I want it. Mm-hmm. And that's why you don't want things under the government's control like this.
Correct.
This is why we need to minimize these things, not maximize them. We're going the opposite direction we should be.
So I encourage these airlines and these employees to walk out. Walk out. I encourage you as a teacher, get out of the union right now. I don't think that it's any difference with the teachers' union as it is with the unions for the airlines or any other union. If your union has been part of the problem and they are in with the federal government, get out of that union right now. You have to start showing them pain. And yes, you do have to start taking a risk. But if you won't take a risk for your children and children's children, we're going to lose. And all of our children will lose. We all are at risk today. Our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. We want freedom for our children. And they are boiling us slowly. Amtrak, I hear, is next, which, I mean, wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be great if Amtrak? By the way, the shortages are coming. Retailers are now saying, good luck getting a Christmas tree. A Christmas tree in America. A Christmas tree. Oil prices continue to surge today. 7-year record. This is the highest oil has been since Halloween 2014. 2 years. 2 years before Donald Trump. This is the highest gas has been. I'm telling you, California is probably at $5 a gallon. The rest of the country will be at $5, $6, $7, $8 a gallon. All of these things are coming, and they are intentional. They are intentional. All of the things that they're doing now just couldn't be done. Just truly could not be done in happenstance. All of these things that are happening because it is planned. This isn't Joe Biden just being out of control. This is a takeover, a hostile takeover, a revolution from the inside out, from the top down. If you don't believe me that this isn't planned, let me just go over who's in this administration. We have Kamala Harris. She's the one that has been put in charge of the border. She's going to go find the root causes.
Doing a great job.
Yeah, there's nothing. She's not even making public appearances now. Then you have Antony Blinken. His appearance before the Senate made it clear he has no answers for what happened in Afghanistan. He said they had no idea the Taliban would advance so fast. He had no real plan to get Americans out. 13 U.S. service members died. There are at least 100 Americans left behind enemy lines, thousands of green card holders, but he has abandoned them. Then he managed to anger France by announcing a nuclear submarine deal with Australia with little notice.
That Biden had no idea even was happening.
Yeah, right. Crazy. Then you have Janet Yellen. During her confirmation, she promised she would be a voice for fiscal sanity. She's going to bat right now for the $3.5 trillion and probably much more spending plan after trillions of stimulus. She now seems to think that despite, what you're paying at the grocery store, interest rates won't rise and neither will inflation. Our increasing astronomical $23 trillion in national debt won't be a drag. Then you have Lloyd Austin. Besides what happened in Afghanistan, he knows now that the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, secretly went behind President Trump's back to assure the Chinese he would tip them off. He has yet to take any actions for that. Merrick Garland bowing to the teachers' union and school boards who call parents upset over critical race theory and mask mandates domestic terrorists. He got the FBI involved. We found out late last week that his son-in-law and his daughter are making millions off of the school boards.
And even if it was this huge problem with the school boards, what jurisdiction does the FBI have over local school boards? There's nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it.
Secretary of Interior, they moved the Bureau of Land Management to Colorado under Trump, but nobody wants to live in the western states from Washington, so they moved it back, and they put Dev Holland in charge, and she, of course, was involved in tree spiking. She's in charge of our public grazing lands. Tom Vilsack, Secretary of Agriculture, he has been pushing for capital gains tax, which would make it almost impossible for children to inherit farms from their parents. He's putting all kinds of regulation on farmers. The Secretary of Commerce said corporations need to be taxed more in order to compete globally. Secretary of Labor, he said, I don't think the jobless numbers are as bad as everyone is reporting. I don't know. Check the numbers. Can you do basic math? The Health and Human Services Director, he's in charge of COVID response. He doesn't even go to the meetings. He doesn't even go to the meetings. And we haven't even gotten to Pete Buttigieg and the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development.